The news broke early in the morning when Kenya's President, William Ruto, made a strong and fearless statement that shook both Nigeria and the rest of Africa. Standing firm on his words, he said it was time for the Nigerian government to release Nnamdi Kanu and stop the endless drama surrounding his detention. Ruto said clearly that enough is enough, and Africa cannot continue to keep quiet while injustice continues to grow. His message was straight and sharp, without any form of confusion or fear. President Ruto said that it was time to draw a line between justice and political persecution. He explained that Nnamdi Kanu was not a criminal but a man who spoke up for his people and for fairness. According to him, no leader in Africa should ever silence a voice that speaks for freedom, because the voice of freedom represents the will of the people. Ruto said he had watched the situation in Nigeria for too long and could no longer stay silent. He made it clear that silence in the face of injustice is the same as supporting the oppressor. He said in his words, "Nnamdi Kanu must be released now. Keeping him locked up is not justice, it is a form of oppression that must not continue. If President Tinubu refuses to listen and do what is right, then he should be ready to step down. The era of keeping quiet while others suffer for speaking the truth is over." His message was firm, and his tone carried the weight of truth. Ruto's statement spread like wildfire across the internet. Within hours, it was trending in Nigeria, Kenya, Ghana, South Africa, and even among African communities abroad. Many people were shocked because it was rare for one African president to call out another so directly. But Ruto did not stop there. He went on to say that Africa will never move forward if leaders continue to use power to silence voices of freedom. He said every government must learn that power should serve the people, not punish them. According to Ruto, the real strength of a government is not in how long it can hold someone in detention, but in how fair and just it can be in dealing with its own citizens. He reminded everyone that the world is watching, and that the actions of African leaders today will be remembered for generations. He said history does not forget those who oppressed others, and it also never forgets those who stood for what was right. Ruto also spoke about unity in Africa, saying that true unity cannot exist where there is oppression. He said, "How can we talk about a united Africa when a man like Nnamdi Kanu is still in prison for asking for fairness? How can we speak of democracy when a government ignores court orders and human rights?" His questions were simple but powerful, and they touched the hearts of many who had followed Kanu's case for years. He continued by reminding African leaders that leadership is not about fear or control. It is about serving the people with truth and justice. He said that the voice of the people is stronger than any government, and no leader should ever forget that. According to him, the reason many African nations continue to struggle is because too many leaders rule with fear instead of fairness. Ruto said it was shameful that Kanu's case had dragged on for so long. He pointed out that even the courts had spoken, yet the government kept ignoring the truth. He warned that such behavior destroys trust in democracy. He said, when a government no longer listens to its own laws, it is no longer leading, it is controlling. And control is not leadership. The Kenyan president also told Nigerians that the world now looks at their government differently. He said people across the globe are questioning why a country that claims to be a democracy still holds a man without freedom after many court orders. He warned that this kind of behavior gives Africa a bad image in the eyes of the world. Ruto said Nigeria is supposed to lead Africa by example, not by fear. In his closing remarks, he called on President Tinubu to do what is right and prove that he is a true leader. He said, "Power does not last forever, but truth will always remain. You cannot imprison the truth, and you cannot bury justice. One day, it will rise again. That is why I say, release Nnamdi Kanu and let peace return. Do not make the mistake of turning a man's pain into a nation's shame." After his statement, people across Africa began to share his words with pride and hope. Many said that Ruto had spoken like a true African brother, one who believes that the continent must stand for truth and fairness. His message did not come from hate or politics, but from a desire to see Africa grow into a land where every citizen is free and respected. The message was simple, but it carried deep meaning. William Ruto's voice became a symbol of courage and leadership. He showed that even presidents can speak the truth without fear. His words reminded everyone that justice delayed is justice denied, and that silence in the face of injustice is the same as betrayal. For the first time in a long while, Hope returned to many who believed Nnamdi Kanu's freedom had been forgotten. And with that, a new wave of pressure began to rise against the Nigerian government. People started to say that if an African leader from another country could speak up for Kanu, then Nigerians themselves should not keep quiet any longer. Ruto's message became more than a speech, it became a call for justice, unity, and freedom across all of Africa. After President William Ruto's powerful message shook the continent, many people across Africa began reacting. But among all the voices, one voice stood out, the voice of Nigerian social critic and activist Verydarkman. He was quick to speak, showing his full support for Ruto's words. As usual, he didn't hold back or try to be careful with his opinions. He went straight to the point, saying that what Ruto said was exactly what millions of Nigerians have been thinking but are too afraid to say. In a calm but serious tone, Verydarkman said, President Ruto has spoken the truth that our own leaders are too scared to say. He has done what our so-called elders and politicians have refused to do. This is not just about Nnamdi Kanu anymore. This is about justice, fairness, and respect for the rule of law. His words carried the same energy that made many Nigerians respect him, fearless, honest, and focused on the truth. He explained that Nnamdi Kanu's continued detention was a sign that Nigeria's government had lost touch with fairness. He said that no government that truly believes in democracy should keep a man locked up after courts have ordered his release. He reminded people that the case had dragged on for too long and had already caused unnecessary division among Nigerians. Verydarkman said that Kanu's issue had gone beyond politics and was now a test of the Nigerian government's respect for human rights. He said, "You cannot call yourself a democratic government when you keep ignoring court orders. You cannot talk about unity when you are still holding someone who only asked for justice. That is not unity, that is pride and wickedness." He praised President Ruto for being bold enough to speak up. According to him, African leaders often keep quiet even when they know something is wrong because they fear losing political friendships or foreign support. He said that Ruto's statement showed true leadership, a kind of leadership that comes from love for the people, not fear of losing power. As his words spread online, many Nigerians began to agree with him. On social media, people shared clips of his speech, saying he was right. They said that Nigeria needed more people like him who could speak truth to power without caring about what politicians think. Verydarkman continued by reminding Nigerians that the country cannot grow when leaders refuse to follow the law. He said that keeping Nnamdi Kanu in detention had not brought peace to the country but had only made people more angry. He said, "If this government truly wants peace, then release him. You cannot build peace on injustice. Peace only comes when people trust that their leaders are fair." He also addressed those who tried to make Kanu's case look like a tribal issue. He said it was wrong to see it as a fight between one region and another. According to him, this is about human rights and justice, not tribe or politics. He said every Nigerian should care, because what happens to one person today could happen to another tomorrow. He pointed out that if the Nigerian government continues to ignore the truth, more people will lose faith in the system. He said the country will not move forward when its citizens believe that the law only works for the rich and powerful. He said, if the courts can say a man should be released, but the government still refuses, then it means nobody is safe. It means the law means nothing. Verydarkman also warned that Nigerians must not get used to silence. He said silence is dangerous because it gives room for evil to grow. He urged young people to speak up peacefully and demand what is right. He said, "We are the future of this country. If we keep quiet now, our children will suffer even worse tomorrow. We must speak, we must stand for truth, and we must never fear those who use power wrongly." Throughout his message, Verydarkman made it clear that he was not against Nigeria or its government. Instead, he said he wanted the government to act right and stop using power to silence those who speak the truth. He said, "We are not enemies of the government. We are only asking the government to be fair. Let Nnamdi Kanu go, and let peace return. That is what a true government should do." As his statement spread, people from different parts of Nigeria began to post messages of support. Many said they were inspired by both Ruto and Verydarkman for standing up for justice. Some said it was embarrassing that another country's president had to speak before Nigerians took the matter seriously. In the days that followed, Verydarkman's name continued to trend online. Many Nigerians called him the voice of the people. They said he had reminded the government that justice is not something that can be delayed forever. Some even said that his words gave them new hope that one day, Nigeria would have leaders who care about justice more than politics. He also called on religious and traditional leaders to stop keeping quiet. He said, "If you claim to serve God, then you must stand for truth. No man who fears God should be silent while injustice continues. This is not about politics, it is about right and wrong." Before ending his message, he once again repeated his support for President Ruto, calling him a true African brother. He said, "What Ruto did is what African unity should look like, speaking for one another when things go wrong. We should not only come together when it is about business or politics, we should come together for truth and justice too." His message was clear: Nnamdi Kanu must be released. Justice must be served. The government must stop using silence and delay as weapons. He reminded Nigerians that no power lasts forever, but truth always wins in the end. By the time he finished speaking, many Nigerians were filled with hope. It was no longer just about Ruto or Kanu. It had become a movement for truth, fairness, and freedom. Verydarkman's courage proved that one voice can awaken a nation, and his words continue to echo in the hearts of millions who are tired of watching injustice go unchallenged. When Aloy Ejimakor, the lawyer representing Nnamdi Kanu, heard about President William Ruto's powerful statement and the strong support from Verydarkman, he felt a deep sense of relief. For years, he had been fighting a lonely legal battle, trying to convince the Nigerian government to obey its own courts and release his client. But now, with voices like Ruto and Verydarkman joining the call, it felt like the struggle was no longer his alone. Ejimakor spoke calmly but with clear determination. He said that Ruto's words had sent a strong message to the world, that justice cannot be silenced forever. According to him, Ruto had reminded everyone that Africa still has leaders who care about fairness and the truth. In his words, President Ruto has shown courage. His words have given strength to the fight for justice. What he said is what many have been afraid to say, that it is wrong to keep Nnamdi Kanu locked up despite court orders. Ejimakor said that for too long, the Nigerian government had ignored both local and international rulings that demanded Kanu's release. He said the courts had spoken clearly, yet the government continued to act as if the law did not matter. He explained that it was not just about Kanu as a person, but about what his continued detention means for the rule of law in Nigeria. He said, "When a government disobeys its own courts, it sets a bad example. It tells the people that justice does not matter. It destroys the very foundation of democracy." Ejimakor explained that his job as a lawyer was not only to defend Nnamdi Kanu but also to defend the idea that justice must be the same for everyone, no matter who they are. He thanked Verydarkman for his bravery, saying that the young activist had stood with truth even when many others chose silence. He said, "I thank that young man called Verydarkman. He has shown what it means to be fearless. He has spoken when many would rather look away. His voice, and that of President Ruto, have brought new light to this matter." Ejimakor went on to remind the public of the legal facts. He said several courts had already ruled that Kanu's arrest and detention were illegal. He also reminded Nigerians that the United Nations had called for his release, stating that his continued detention violated international human rights standards. Yet, despite all these rulings, the government still refused to let him go. He asked the Nigerian government a simple question: what do you gain by keeping a man who has not been convicted of any crime? Why ignore your own courts? Why break your own laws? He said that the refusal to release Kanu had already caused serious damage to the country's image. He added that the world was now watching Nigeria with disappointment because a government that refuses to respect its own laws cannot expect respect from others. He also addressed President Tinubu directly, urging him to do the right thing. He said, "Mr. President, this is your chance to show that you are different. Obey the court orders. Free Nnamdi Kanu. Do not let your name be remembered as the leader who turned justice into silence." Ejimakor said that the call for Kanu's release was not a sign of weakness but a call for strength and leadership. He said that every great leader must have the courage to make hard but right decisions. He reminded Tinubu that no government lasts forever, but the legacy of every government is written by the way it treats its citizens. The lawyer also called on the Nigerian people not to lose hope. He said, "This fight is not over. Justice may be delayed, but it can never be denied forever. The voices are growing stronger. Ruto has spoken, Verydarkman has spoken, and soon, many more will speak. He encouraged everyone to continue demanding what is right in a peaceful and lawful way, saying that real change comes when citizens stand together and refuse to be silent. As news of his statement spread, many Nigerians praised Ejimakor for his calm and intelligent approach. They said his words showed the kind of patience and wisdom that true justice requires. Some even said that his response gave them hope that one day, Kanu would walk free again. Ejimakor also spoke about the emotional pain his client had gone through. He said that Kanu had been treated unfairly, kept away from his family, and denied basic rights, even though the law said he should be free. He said it was painful to see how long the case had dragged without reason. He added, "Nnamdi Kanu has suffered, but he has not broken. He still believes in justice. He still believes that one day, the truth will win. And I believe that too." His words were quiet but powerful, showing the faith of a man who had refused to give up, even after many disappointments. He said that the world must continue to speak up because silence helps injustice to grow. He thanked African leaders, human rights groups, and ordinary citizens who had continued to call for Kanu's release. He said, "Justice is not only for one man, it is for every man. When we fight for Kanu, we fight for the soul of Africa. We fight for every man or woman who has ever been unfairly treated by power." In his closing words, Ejimakor said something that touched many hearts. He said, "One day, Nnamdi Kanu will walk free, and when that day comes, it will not be a victory for one man, but for justice itself. Let the Nigerian government remember this. Truth cannot be killed, and justice cannot be buried. The more you try to hide it, the louder it becomes." By the end of the day, his message was being shared everywhere. People said it was a moment of truth, a moment when lawyers, activists, and leaders finally spoke with one voice. Across Africa, many began to believe that perhaps this time, the fight for Nnamdi Kanu's freedom might truly lead to something bigger, a movement for justice, fairness, and equality across the continent. The hope that had once seemed weak began to grow stronger again. And in that moment, it became clear that the struggle for justice was no longer just one man's battle. It had become the voice of a continent tired of silence and ready for change.